Hi, it's Wendy. We move to lecture 6B, part B of lecture 6. Again, it's still the narrative theory as well. And what we are going to talk about in this lecture, we will talk about Tompkins script theory. And there are lots of connections between Thompson's script theory and McAdams' narrative theory. And also we talk about visual analysis, visual narrative as well, how to analyze photo as a narrative as well. And Tompkins is a psychologist and personality theorist, and he developed both affect theory and script theories. And for example, for script theories, it's more about the narrative, people function, and sometimes in a way, according to the way in a written script. And so human being largely falls into the patterns called script by providing a program for action. If we relate it to social cognitive theory, is this the script actually is the self schema. Is that right? We can connect it to as a self schema, and the script and for McAdam, he regard a person as an actor. So we act according to the script. So this is the connection among different theories. We can connect them together. And script theory is originated from affect theory. And in the affect theory, it is believed that people react to stimuli based on the effects, based on the affective emotions. Affect is the primary motivator of behavior. And there is some important terminology. For instance, scene means story, and script means the interpretation of story. So these are two important terms we are going to use. And scene means story, and script means the interpretation of stories. And type of scripts and commitment script, and also contamination script. And the commitment script is from negative to positive, and the contamination script from positive to negative. And within the script, there are some episodes. And for example, we talk about nuclear episodes. We will give more discussion later on. Affects, Tompkins believed that affects, not drives in Freud's theory, not needs in Murray's theory, are the primary, but affects are the primary motivation for human behavior. And the scenes and script, the scene and script are the important terms. We talk about that. Scenes means stories, script means the interpretation of the stories. And scenes and scripts are organizers of the life story. What's in the story, and also how to interpret the story from the narrator's, the storyteller's perspective, and from others' perspective as well. Scene is the memory of a specific happening or an event in one's life that contains at least one effect or one object of that effect. And scripts. And for example, if it's a story, it's a memory about ice cream, and this is the object, yeah, and the person who tells the story love ice cream. This is the effect. So we need to have effect and the object of that effect. And script is set of rules for interpretation, for creation, and for enhancement and defending against a family of sins. There are a lot of sins in the story, and then the script is the interpretation to link all the sins together. And the short-term importance of the scene is to interpret the quality of the effect in that scene. But there is a another long-term importance when the scene is put into the context of the person's entire life narrative. The long-term importance of the scene is psychological magnification. And what does it mean by psychological magnification? It is the process of connecting related scenes into a meaningful way or into a meaningful pattern. So we have the scenes in the story. Then the psychological magnification is how we connect the scenes together in a meaningful way. If we regard the scenes as pearls, and the psychological magnification is the process to link the pearls together using the thread. And this is the metaphor of psychological magnification. And types of scripts, commitment script. In a commitment script, the person binds himself or herself to a life goal that promises reward or incentive, positive effect. So positive commitment script means positive scenes, and it involves long-term investment in improving things. So it's turning from the bad to the good and improving. And nuclear script, nuclear episode in McAdams' theory, nuclear scripts are generally marked by ambivalence or confusion about one's life goals and even bad stories or negative stories in the of the scenes. So these are two terminologies we use in the script theory to analyze the story. And commitment scripts, including early advantage, for example, the person feels he or she is special in some way. And for example, if the person lived in a happy family and feel that he or she is very special. And also have empathy of suffering of others. When the person sees suffering of others, then the person has the empathetic concerns, empathetic emotions for the suffering of others. And ideological steadfastness, early commitments often to religion worldview, for example, going to church, learning about the religion's worldviews, and also redemption sequences that the best sins are redeemed or made better, and from bad to good, from negative to positive. And pro-social future, and the person often presents the goals for helping others as part of future script. So these are the commitment script often include this kind of features. And nuclear script, nuclear episode stands out in bold print in life stories as narrative high points, low points, and turning points explain how the person has remained the same and how the person has changed over time. So nuclear episodes often related to low points in the person's narrative. And also the low points remain the same. And for example, this is a table compare the commitment script and nuclear scripts. And for example, in the script feature a ratio of positive or negative effect. And for commitment, if this script is commitment, then the positive effect are greater than the negative. And but for nuclear, it's opposite. The negative is greater than the positive. And also affect socialization And for commitment script, it's intense and also rewarding. But for nuclear, it's intense as well, but it's ambivalent and unclear and even negative. A clarification of ideal scene ideology. And for commitment script, it's very clear. But for nuclear scripts, it's confusing and also the interpretations not in a positive or clear direction, but in a confusion manner. Magnification of scenes, and for commitment script, the magnification of scenes via variants, and but for nuclear is via analogs. And sequences for commitment script is bad things can be overcome, bad things can turn into good things. But for nuclear scripts, again, is opposite. Good things turn bad. So these are the way how we analyze the scripts as commitment or nuclear. Okay, here is a script in Carson study in 1981, published in 1981, long time ago. But it's a very classic script. And this is a narrative. It's was from a 37-year-old college professor and about the early childhood story, and that's Jenny. And the story is like this. 4-year-old Jenny is playing when she hears her mother crying for help. Running into the hall, she finds her mother lying on the floor in heaps of boxes, having fallen from a makeshift ladder to the attic. Mother asks Jenny to call her father. Father arrives, helps mother to her feet, and supports her as they walk to the living room with Jenny hovering nearby. Jenny hears her father say, "Sit here, honey," and promptly run into the couch that her father referred to. Her father angrily yells, "Get out of here!" and pushes Jenny away so that her mother may lie down. Jenny retreats in confusion, feeling deeply ashamed. And give you some background. Jenny's mother was pregnant and falling from the ladder. And also Jenny's father was always very gentle to her. So that's why Jenny believed when her father says, sit here, honey. And she believes that her father was talking to her. So that's why she sit in the couch. But actually, her father was the honey was referred to her mother. And so because the worry about the mother, the pregnant wife, so her father was angry, yelling at Jenny, "Get out of here," in a very rude tone. And Jenny was frozen. And the impact of this story was when Jenny, even though after so many years became a college professor, when she faced very stressful, stressful situation, she's frozen and had difficulties to speak, have difficulties to think. And this is the consequences of what happened when he was 4-year-old. Okay, coming back to the script. What kind of script for this? What kind of scene for this? It's a nuclear. Is that right? It's a new clear script, turning from good to bad. It's a new clear script. So the turning point was the father angrily yelling at her, "Get out of here." This is the turning point. Before that, for Jenny, it was a commitment script. It was happily playing and looking after the mother, asking for help from father. This is the, for example, the empathy of her mother's suffering. But when her father was angrily shouting at her, "Get out of here," this is the turning point for Jenny, and this has had great impact, have a desperately impact for Jenny in the later life when she faced difficulties, adverse situation. She got frozen as well. So this is a story that Carson present in his paper about the professor, what happened to the professor in her early childhood. Visual narrative. Now we have smartphones, and it's so easy. Never ever taking a photo has never ever to be so easy. And in contemporary psychological sciences, photography has emerged as an influential communication method. For example, I present 3 photos. Do those 3 photos tell the same story? What kind of stories they are telling? I give you a few moments to think about it. Now let's look at the photo on our left-hand side. 4 elderlies holding cars. And all the photos are about elderly. And the 4 elderlies holding cars, playing car games. What do we see? We see smiles on their faces. So what kind of story telling us is a nuclear scene or a commitment scene? Is a positive image or negative image? I believe it's positive. It's a commitment scene. And what about the photo in the middle? A gentleman lying down on the back with some needles in the hand, in his left hand. And if you look at the eyes of the gentleman, it seems that there is no smiles at all on the face and in the eyes as well. So what kind of story is this photo telling? It's a commitment scene or a nuclear episode. It's a nuclear episode, isn't it? It's about illness. We don't know whether there is a hope for this gentleman because there is no smiles on the face at all. And what about the third one? An older woman holding a hand. From the hand we can see there's a hand of a younger person, maybe a female. And what do you see? It's a nuclear or it's a commitment scene. It seems to me it's a little bit unclear, isn't it? For example, in the eyes, we may see sadness in the eyes, but we may see hopes in the eyes as well. And with the hand holding to, for example, maybe the daughter's hand or granddaughter's hand, it seems that providing hope and comfort to the woman. So it seems this photo tells us more stories about this woman. And it seems it's not very clear what happens to this woman. So for this photo, maybe we need some narrative as well. We need some text narrative. We need some story telling by the person as well. So we can see the different layers of meaning in the three photos. So visual narrative is just amazing, isn't it? It's not more than it's as amazing, as meaningful as text or oral narratives. And I provide some of the quotes about photo. A photo may function as a narrative if we recognize its visual codes as belonging to and a form dominated by narratives such as cinema, theater, or history painting. Furthermore, history painting always tell us stories about what happened. Define a photo narrative. As I said, for example, Beaton and Collis defined a photo narrative as a set of photographers arranged to create a storyline within the constraints of a particular format. Still, the photo can tell us a story, have a storyline. For Riesman, she believes visual representations of experiences in photographs enable researchers and or audience to see as participants see to feel what participants feel. So from the photo, we can see what the participant sees and can feel what he or she feels as well. Picture not only restore feelings, but also have the capacity to feel. So it's consistent with the previous statements as well. As such, visual narrative is not to copy, substitute, or complements to linguistic or to oral narrative. It is rather an alternation of representation that focuses on the parts of culture which cannot be accessed by just the use of word. Seeing often comes before words to establish people's place in the surrounding world in a very vivid sense because of the image. And then, how do we analyze visual narrative? And there are three steps proposed by Catherine Riesman. And the first step, she recommends to record information of the production of the photo, which sets the scene of the photo. The information could include how and when the photo was made, which participants were involved, why the participants wanted you to picture this particular objects or place, other relevant aspects of the photo making process, such as your impression of the process. And second step, search and research. We talk about research. Actually, if we use read, search, this is what we mean, research. Search and research the story that the photos invokes. Ask, what is the meaning of photo for the participant? Meaning, this is important for narrative analysis, always about meaning. And record your interpretation of the photo. Discuss the photo and your interpretation with the participant. This is important because looking into the photo, you form your impression. you develop your own interpretation. But it's very important that you ask the participants whether your interpretation was correct for the, or if I don't use the word correct, whether your interpretation is consistent with the participants' experience. So there is no correct, right or wrong. So yeah, whether discuss with the participant whether your interpretation makes sense for the participant. The last step is interpret the photos alongside with the oral accounts, the linguistic narrative. This enables you to show readers the world through the participants' eyes for the readers to see what the participant sees, because if only text, then everyone's imagination is different. But with the photo alongside with the text, with the oral story, with the text story, with the story in text, and the participants' experiences become seeable in a way that transcend the sayable. Well, this is the visual analysis I'm going to show you. It's from my paper. It published quite a long time ago, quite a few ago, in 2012, Art in Health and Identity. So there are two photos here. And on the left-hand side is the photo of the garage of my participant. And the participants modified the garage into a painting room. And the photo actually is a painting. On the right-hand side is an incomplete painting that the participant was planning to give to his friend he made in New Zealand. And excuse me, my study was looking at older Chinese migrants aging in place in New Zealand. So they are the photos and paintings are from older gentlemen who's my participants, one of my participants. And what happened? And let's look at another photo. And this is the gentleman and his wife. And what do you see in this photo? And that's, let me see, it's at the end of the interview. And I arrived in their place, in their home in the morning. And then it's about 11 or 12 o'clock. And they invited me to stay for lunch, to have lunch with them. So I was happily staying and took the photo for them to cook the lunch for themselves and for me as well. And it seems that's my interpretation. This is a very happy family. And they cook together. And they enjoying talking to people, for example, like myself. And it's a beautiful photo, isn't it? Okay, let me tell you what happened. And this is the account from the gentleman. I am somewhat unconscionable, unsociable. I have difficulties to get on with people I don't appreciate. I have been a doctor in my whole life. People ask for help from me all the time. I seldom mingled with people spontaneously. I am sort of indulged in self-admiration. Now I have a painting room. I can paint again. Many people came to me asking for my painting. I give them my painting as gift. And so that's the figure, the painting room, and also the painting as well. So what happened? And this gentleman was a surgeon, was a senior doctor in China. But after moving to New Zealand, he becomes a beneficiary and receiving social benefits from the government. So what he described is that he was at this level in China, but now is in the bottom level in New Zealand. If you remember one of the accounts I presented previously, that's from this gentleman. And so he feels that he's useless after moving to New Zealand. And this is what I call is the poverty of aspiration. It seems there is no hope. You remember he mentioned that he read the newspaper, Chinese newspaper, very, very slowly, but it only killed 2 hours to read all the available Chinese newspaper. And he still have 22 hours to kill. Do you remember that? That's this account. And so he felt that he's useless until he modified the garage into a painting room and he can paint again because he's a very, very good painter. So many friends asked him for his painting. He did not charge it at all. He did not charge his friends, and just as a free gift. But this gave him the purpose and the meaning of life. He felt that he is useful again. He can help others. So what kind of script of this? Commitment or nuclear is turning from bad to good, isn't it? From negative to positive. So it's a commitment script. It's a commitment scene from the good to from the bad to the good. The ending is a happy ending. So this is the analysis using the script theory and McAdams' narrative analysis to analyze the narrative. And this is another narrative, and that's from a Chinese art professor at the university in China. And she retires and moved to New Zealand to reunite with her. That's a female. That's a female painting with her daughter. And let's see the oral narrative. The title of the painting is Heaven. Heaven is my work. I donated to my church. So this is the ideology scene, is that right? Related to religion. I call it as a cultural graft. So I use the grafting image to show the cultural graft. This is the metaphor. I combine the Chinese image of the Huang flying to the Western image of the angels in the Bible. So the beautiful images flying on the cloud, that's the Chinese images of the Huang flying. And at the bottom, if you remember, that's the images of angels. And those beautiful angels in the Bible. So this is the combination of the Chinese culture and the Western culture as well. So this is what she called cultural grafting. And this is his painting. On the left-hand side, there's the mountains and the beautiful mountains in China. And on the right-hand side, there's the beautiful flowers and also the cute, very cute chicken. in New Zealand. So as you can see, the painting style changed dramatically. And let's look at what she said. When I returned to China in 2003, I produced a slideshow constituting all of my painting I draw in New Zealand. My former colleagues surprisingly found that I have changed my painting style. I did not realize that at all until they told me. When I was in China, I was not interested in drawing flowers. My focus was on mountains, waterfalls, and oceans because those are big images. And from her artist perspective, this is the images represent her aspiration as well to be a superwoman, to be an artist, to have big influence in the field. But I started drawing flowers since I moved to New Zealand. Beautiful flowers are everywhere in New Zealand. That's true because in New Zealand, all trees have beautiful flowers. I just can't help drawing them. I can feel the power and vitality of life when I am painting the flowers. Flowers experience storms, however, they survive, flourish, and bloom. Just like us, we moved to New Zealand in our later life. We experienced hardships, but we survived and flourish too. Storms are the metaphors. Flowers are metaphors as well. And experiencing hardship to survive, to thrive into new life. That's the turning point from struggling to growing. So what kind of script is it? Commitment or nuclear? Turning from struggling to growing. That's the commitment script. Is that right? So this is how we analyze looking into the turning point. Now let's come back to this photo. It was taken by me when the couple cooked the lunch. So that's in the first interview. And in the second interview, I interviewed them 3 times. And this is the second interview. And then in the third interview, I took this photo back, showed. And in the third interview, the gentleman did not join the interview, only the lady joined the interview. Then I showed the lady, and this is the photo. I see a beautiful picture that you two were together to cook the lunch. It tells a beautiful story of a family, of home. And then I look at the lady to see how, give her some time to react to my interpretation. And she was silent for quite a while. And then she said, this is not the case in our everyday life. You may not believe this is the first time he cooked lunch for the family. It's the first time he cooked the lunch in his entire life. I did not show any surprise, but I was, deep inside, I was thinking, oh, a completely different story compared to the photo, what the photo tells me. And then the lady continues. And he was a senior surgeon. Lots of people asking for help from him. So he regarded himself very, very highly. But after moving to New Zealand, we become beneficiaries, relying on the government's benefits. And he became a little bit weird, easy to be angry, and he doesn't like me to talk to my friends. For example, if my friends call me, and after 5 minutes, he would shout at me, yell at me, already 5 minutes, stop talking. And so this is a completely different story. But of course, this story was told because the gentleman was not present, was not in the interview. So sometimes that, for example, as a researcher or working with the client, when we have the image, it's necessary for us to discuss your interpretation with your clients, with your participants. You will then capture lots of nuanced experience and even completely different stories like this one. So this is the way we analyze the visual narrative, have our interpretation, but take our interpretation back to the client, back to the participant to ask them to see whether our interpretation makes sense to them or not. Well, thank you so much for listening to me. I really enjoyed this lecture, particularly talking about the visual narrative and also share my experience with you regarding how I analyze the visual narrative. Thank you so much and talk to you soon. See you soon in the next lecture.